Alright, hello. So this is a tutorial for going from UDIMs to bake down to UVs. And this body right here, this skin right here is using UDIMs. And this over here is using one UV. So let me just confirm that by going into the material. So this is the virtual texture. As you can see, this is using 4 textures for the UDIMs. Right here, source file, there's 4 of them, so that's a UDIM. And this one over here is using just one UV tile, and it is baked down, and it's very friendly for optimizing your game, and it's a must for like good details in a high quality project. So there is some quality loss that's barely noticeable. As you can see, there is some roughness, but roughness can be adjusted easily. And some seams that I could have avoided easily by going about it in a different way. See, there is no seams here, and there is some seams here. There is some quality loss to the normals. It's not that much, but it can be noticed. Alright, so let me show you the pipeline, the complete pipeline, before we go into the first section. So here is the sketch of the thing that I'm following. First, I go into ZBrush and I sculpt, and I use Dynamesh and all that. Of course, if you're not gonna use Dynamesh, you're not gonna need this half section over here. You're probably not gonna need it if you're not using Dynamesh at all, but you're gonna need Dynamesh for pretty much everything you're doing in ZBrush. So first we use ZBrush, then we decimate it a little bit, not too much, just to like 500,000 vertices, just so we can load it properly inside of Unreal. And then from Unreal 5 we remesh it with the modeling tools plugin, we simplify it, and then we go back into ZBrush, and then with this section right here we are trying to get a proper UV unwrapping. And you can use polygroups if you want, but you don't need to do this section actually. But this is just like if you have let's say for example you have the nails like sticking out, or like you have bones sticking out, and you want them to be on a different polygroup. But I didn't need to do that really. It was just kind of an extra step that I didn't need to use for this model. So once you got that, then we get the UVs, and then we go into Blender, and then we get the UDIMs. So we go from UVs to UDIMs inside Blender, and then we scale everything properly, and then we export back to ZBrush, and we basically sculpt the details so we can get it ready for the normals, so we can start texturing inside of Painter. And then we paint it, we do all that good stuff, and then we go back into Blender, and then we make a new UV map that will be used inside of a Blender plugin called SimpleBaker. Then we export it back to Painter so we can pack down the channels, and we optimize it. So let me show you the difference here. So this is using resource size 21 megabytes, and this is 3 megabytes, or well, half of that actually. Yeah, it's half of that. And 15 megabytes for this one. Well, half of that. 10 megabytes. Okay. So let's go with the first step, that is going into ZBrush. I already did my sculpting and the active points are 1.7 million. Everything is ready to go into UE5. This is the first stage, and I do not have any lower divisions. This is the highest level. I use Dynamesh to combine different parts here. So once you use Dynamesh, you're not going to be able to use your division levels and all that good stuff. So let's go and export. Let's go and export this body somewhere. Gonna make a new folder. And I'm just gonna call it to optimize. So 1.7 is still pretty high to load into UE5. Usually you should use the decimation. You should use the decimation tool in here. Either decimate or the decimation master. I find the decimation master works better than decimate, and I found that the UE5 modeling tools remeshing works better than the remeshing in here. So I don't need to decimate this, but I'm gonna show it just for the sake of it. First you just pre-process it so it analyzes the mesh. Okay, once that's done, you can choose the amount of vertices that you want to keep, and this should use about 1% or 3%. So this is pretty good for 3% of 1.7 million, but we can do even more if we wanted to. So, but we will keep it just like this and we will export it out. And that's gone. Great. Okay. So 52K is pretty good to have this kind of detail on. So now we just need to remesh it so we can have just better layout and all that. Okay, so we're back in here. Yep, that's good enough. So actually this, yeah, so the scale here is huge. No worries, it's just using different systems. Unreal is using metrics, so we just need to put this down to 0.01 and it will be the original size from ZBrush. And also the facing axis is not correct, so that's not a big deal. We can just I can figure out which one. Yep. So now we need to enable the modeling tools plugin for Unreal. So you will need to enable this. This is for Unreal Engine 5. You will need it to do the remeshing and simplification process. And once you enable it, you will need to restart the editor, and then you will be able to use it right here. Okay, so first thing we're gonna need to do is the remeshing process. And we can keep the target triangle count to the original one. We just need to have better layout of the vertices and all that. And that's not good. It's getting rid of the nails for some reason. Allow collapses. So you will need to tweak some of these settings right here. But it didn't happen to me in my first try. Okay, so I believe I disabled these three when I did my first remeshing. Yeah. Let's see it without that. It's pretty much the same. So it looks like you will need to disable flips and collapses, or you will get your sharp stuff, rounded. So that's pretty good. It preserves all of our sharp edges, and we still have the same triangle count. Now we can go ahead and remesh it. Okay, and just for the sake of it, I'm gonna bake down the pivot and rotation. Yeah, bake rotation and scale. And I'm gonna bake down the pivot to the very bottom so it's aligned properly. You don't need to do this. This is just for making it friendlier on me when I re-import and export. Okay, so now after we have done the remeshing, we can go to the simplification and optimize it better. So we had how many vertices? Let's see, 110,000. So we will keep this amount of detail. Should be good with like 10%. Even then, that's generous. Yeah, so this is 10%, and that's pretty good, except for some of the nails maybe. Okay, let's check it out. Yeah, 11k vertices is pretty good. If that's too much, we can go 20% and see how the nails look then. Again, this is all up to you and how much you really want to simplify it. It's not that much of a difference. I'm doing this process so I don't bother with Retopo flow, because it's just, it kills you. Like it kills your creativity. It's too much time. So 10% should be good. Yeah. Now that's done, I'm just gonna look at the pipeline here. Now we need to take it back to Zbrush. So we can go ahead and export it to. Now we need to take it back to Zbrush so we can give it a proper UV layout, because I don't want to do it in Maya or any of those other things. I want some nice automatic flow for things to be done, so this process is pretty much that. There is barely any manual work other than texturing and painting.